for moving around. All right. And again, if you guys know the answers to these questions, just please post up your answers in the comments. We'll be keeping an eye on those as we go through today's live. And hopefully we get some good replies.
All right, so I am truly sorry. It seems that we didn't have audio there in the beginning. Thank you, Miss Chan, for commenting. But I'm not sure. Did we hear the intro, or was it just the trivia questions? We'll wait a few if you can help us out in the comment section. But if you didn't hear the intro, well, welcome once again to our Wildlife and One Health Live for the month of April. And what I was asking earlier is if you have any zoonotic disease of interest that you may want to learn about, if you can do us the favor of commenting down in the comment section, which zoonotic disease would you like to learn today? And we'll be having a very interactive session with Dr. Isabel, who is our veterinarian, and we'll be doing some sort of a little question and answer for any zoonotic diseases that you may want to learn a little bit more about. Right? And with that, I will leave the time again with Max to go over the trivia questions. I know it was on the screen, but he will introduce once again those trivia questions for you guys.
All right, guys. So we have two trivia questions for you today. They're pretty straightforward, and if you watch the live, we will be going through some talks about these topics as well, so you'll get the answers right there as we go. So our first question was, why was the Wildlife Ambassador Program established? And our second one is, give us a possible reason why animals like kinkajous, howler monkeys, porcupines, and many others might utilize power lines in order to move around freely. So if you know the answers, if you think you know the answers, just feel free to comment below and let us know what you think.
All right, very well. So with that, we'll be moving on from with our agenda for today. And something that we wanted to discuss with you all here on this live, and which I'm pretty sure a lot of you have heard, is about the crocodile situation in Kikaker, right? Early Monday morning, around 3 or 4 a.m., we heard that there was a very concerning incident in Kikaker where an American businesswoman was bitten by an American crocodile, right? Well, it is a very unfortunate situation, and we hope that the injuries were not very bad. As we hear, it's not very major injuries, thank God. But we do want to urge people to not have a very negative reaction to the crocodile as well. And here we're just repeating what our partners at CRC, Crocodile Research Coalition, and ISIS already commented on, right? We don't want people going out and harming crocodiles out there because of this incident. Of course, it is very concerning. It is very scary, and we do feel it dearly for the victim. But it is something that we also want to tell the people about, right? It was something that could have been avoided because swimming at those hours of the night is not advisable. Why? Especially this time of the year where we see that crocodiles are nesting, and when the females are nesting, they become very territorial and they will attack basically anything that's out there, right? So it's very important to not be swimming after hours, and well, for now, avoid that attack site during the night, right? Additionally, we also urge people to never feed wildlife, and this is one of the main issues why we see crocs coming back to specific areas where they feed them. This is called purposeful feeding. The crocs, they get habituated as in any animal, right? If you provided a food source, they will get used to that food source, and then eventually they want to come back and they will attack humans when they don't get that food source, right? Because they associate it with easy meals, right? So the key to preventing these situations is education, right? So that we can find a safe coexistent scenario with these species and not, just wiping them out. They serve a critical part of our ecosystem, and provides ecosystem services in the mangroves and all these areas which are critical for the survival of our ecosystem. So yeah, so we are recognizant of what happened. It is very concerning, but let's also care about our crocodiles, and try to learn and educate people around us about these situations and the risks that they may face as well.
Yeah, guys. So as GN mentioned, these are crepuscular hunters. That means that they would primarily be hunting at dawn and dusk. I know this incident happened probably a bit before dawn, but again, these are just not hours that you want to be out in these areas. You do put yourself at a great risk by doing so. And yeah, it's easily avoided as well. So let's be mindful of that and not just have a kind of knee-jerk reaction and want to go wipe out the crocodiles. They do serve their purpose in the ecosystem, so let's be very mindful of that as well. And that takes us on as we talk about education and limiting these kind of events, mitigating them, preventing them from even happening. That is a big part of the justification for our Wildlife Ambassador program. So, what I want to do now is just give you guys a brief recap for the Wildlife Ambassador program, kind of what it is, why it is, and how it started, and what our next steps are going to be. So it's been a very great educational program started by our founder and head veterinarian, Dr. Isabel Paquet Duran. She justified this program and saw the need for it after looking at the data and realizing that the vast majority, about 7 to 8 out of 10 of our patients here at BWRC, do come from some sort of incident situation with human, whether that's intentional or unintentional. That can be anything ranging from vehicular accidents to illegal pets to, situations like this where perhaps purposeful feeding might have played a role. Sometimes, not to point any fingers, but tour guides would go and feed animals to have a bit more of a show for their tourists. And that can really lead to sad incidents that are also easily avoided. So yeah, it was established after noting that so many of these patients come from situations with humans and that education can really prevent a lot of this. Two of the main situations that this program tackles are human wildlife conflict as well as illegal wildlife trafficking. Both are big issues worldwide, both are big issues here in Belize, and we see examples of this every day here at BWRC. So another goal of this is to inform people about the public health risk of, bad interactions with animals, of illegal wildlife trade, and some of what this whole industry and these misbehaviors, lead to. So a lot of that can be related back to the One Health approach, which is a core of what we do here at BWRC, kind of highlighting that interconnectivity between human, animal, and environmental health, and also looking at some of the zoonotic diseases that we can be at risk of. Whether you know it or not, you're probably familiar with a zoonotic disease. You probably even know somebody who has had one before. These diseases could range from dengue and malaria to COVID-19 to so many other diseases that are transmissible between animals and humans. And of course, being in close contact with wildlife, especially in the larger illegal pet trade, does put people at risk of that. So a core part of this program is prevention of these risks, as well as, informing people so that they can increase public health. Another big goal of this program has been establishing a nationwide network of ambassadors. So They would serve the purpose after receiving this training of both informing their communities of the risks, informing them of the different legislation behind wildlife, and ways that we can avoid conflict, and also when someone is doing wrong, kind of correcting them. And also having this network so that, say, if we're in need and an incident happens in a very rural area, we do sometimes rely on this network of ambassadors to, assist us with the program or assist us in, say, transportation, collecting sufficient knowledge to be able to react appropriately, and a number of different ways. And another great part of building this nationwide network of wildlife ambassadors is that this is such a cross-sectoral problem, so it requires solutions that bring everybody together from different walks of life to figure out the best way to make it all work. A great example of that is some collaboration between primary school teachers and law enforcement. We know that some of our ambassadors have even, started a discussion on trying to get some laws changed here in Belize, trying to get a bit more protection for animals as it relates to animal abuse. But we do really see some really great collaboration through this program. And we also fuel that through our wildlife ambassador conferences. That's an opportunity for all of our ambassadors to come together and network with one another, get to know each other and what they do, and see how we can all contribute in a meaningful way to the protection of Belize's wildlife for generations to come. So far into the program, we've had a total of 36 workshops since the inception and pilot workshop in 2018. So that was 20 workshops in phase one, as well as currently we're in phase two and we've done 15 workshops with more to come. We actually even have 3 planned for next week. So, we try to engage as many people as possible. And on that note, at this point, we have 664 certified wildlife ambassadors. So it's a great group to be able to bring together and, as I mentioned earlier, get people from different walks of life involved in the protection of Belize's unique and wonderful wildlife. So in phase one, we did get 366 different ambassadors certified. And so far into phase two, which will be ending in November, we have 298 certified ambassadors. So yeah, we have some good numbers to show for the effort being put in to, up that knowledge about wildlife conflict and illegal trade and all of the risks therein here in Belize. And then the other amazing news that we have, besides what we've achieved so far into the Wildlife Ambassador Program, is where we're going next with it. So we've recently been granted the PACT GSF grant. So that's from the Protected Areas Conservation Trust, Gender Smart Facilities. They're working alongside the Government of Canada and the Caribbean Biodiversity Fund. And they've funded us for the next phase of the Wildlife Ambassador Program, in which our goal is to reach out more to women, youth, and indigenous communities. So kind of getting a foothold in these often marginalized groups and spreading this knowledge into areas where it matters quite a lot. And another great part of this next phase of the program is, if you guys follow our social media, which I assume you do if you're seeing this right now, you might have heard about our upcoming fellowship program. So we will be bringing on 2 fellows to learn all about what we do here at BWRC and, make them advocates for conservation and get them some great experience for a 12-month program working here at BWRC alongside us. So we're very excited about that. We're undergoing our whole interview process, and we should have more to share with you guys here shortly. Another great part of it, sorry to ramble on about this, guys, but we're really proud of this program and what all it's achieved. We've also started up the first ever last year Wildlife Hero Awards, in which we recognize those who go above and beyond for both the wildlife around them and for their community's protection. So through that program, we've managed to, highlight so far 5 individuals who have done a really great job in furthering the protection of wildlife here in Belize. These people have ranged from police officers, rangers at BMFT, individuals from the Belize Forest Department who we do work under, as well as people like primary school teachers and even community ambassadors who, all do their part in furthering the school. So that's been a really exciting part. And the next good news is that for this year, October 3rd, we do already have our venue and our date decided for the next Wildlife Ambassador Conference. This will be our third one, hosted at the San Ignacio Resort and Hotel, a great partner of ours with their Green Iguana project. And what we're going to be doing there is, again, bringing people together to network, to collaborate, and to see where all we can go with this program. And we will be not celebrating our next set of wildlife heroes at this event. So what we would like to do now is to welcome you guys to nominate anyone you know who goes above and beyond for wildlife. You can follow the QR code behind me, or you can, I'll post it shortly into our comments section as well. You can just follow that link. And what we would ask is that you just send us a photo and a brief description of, why these people are deserving of this award, what kind of work they do, and yeah, how we can celebrate them, or why we can celebrate them. Sorry. Yeah, I think that's about it to share on the Wildlife Ambassador Program at the moment. But if you guys have any comments, any questions, or you're interested in becoming part of this program, kindly reach out to us. We'll be looking out for that.
All right, thank you very much, Max, for that awesome little history and summary of what's been done through the Wildlife Ambassador Program. I remember something that we discussed earlier in phase one is that we will see an increase of number of patients or that come into the clinic since more people will know about these type of situations in terms of conflict, legal pets and what's not. And I think that has been happening, right? The last year and this year have been one of the most busiest years that we've seen around the clinic. All year round. Usually seasonal with the baby seasons, but I hear last year was just packed all year round. So it is something good, despite the team being very busy. But it's great to hear that these animals are getting a second chance that they would otherwise don't get, right? So thank you to all our heroes, wildlife heroes and ambassadors all over the country who are going above and beyond for wildlife, and also doing their part of keeping One Health, right? Keeping themselves safe and their families and their communities. So it's really a big impact that the Wildlife Ambassador Program is causing. Up next, we want to talk about animals on power lines. We know that, due to habitat loss, some of these animals, they get cut off from their natural habitats. And they will often result to our infrastructure. So whatever we build, and whatever they see around to try to get safely to where they need to go. And sometimes they will not find branches and vines for them to safely travel. So what they will find is, power lines and these type of things that are within our infrastructure. So because of that disconnection to the canopy, they may not be able to move, right? So that's why sometimes we will get some of these animals moving in power lines, right? So it's a bit tricky because they will either choose this because it's much more safe than going through the ground. A monkey will almost never go through the ground because there's a lot of risk involved for it as well. They can be attacked by dogs, cats, whatever, other animals, right? They can also get into the roads, for example, and they will, get risk of getting knocked down. So staying high up is a mechanism that they used very often to keep themselves safe, right? Um, we've recently gotten calls. I think this is why we're talking about this. I don't know. This video also got a little bit viral in Punta Gorda, where we see Yucatan black howler monkey in downtown Punta Gorda, just traversing the line. I think it was in one of like a clothing store as well. So it's very tricky, right? It's very hard for them to traverse these areas when all you have is these urban landscapes. So in this case, we were in touch with a police officer down there, an ambassador in fact, who said that the monkey tangal managed to safely go back into the bushes. He said, right? So he went back into the forest. Um, I also got a call a couple of weeks back from San Ignacio for a Mexican dwarf porcupine in downtown San Ignacio as well, right? And he was walking um, in the power lines, and when we arrived, they told us that it fell from the power lines, right? So he had a very, very um, bad injury. You see, it was depressed and moving very slowly. Unfortunately, by the time we arrived, we didn't manage to find it. It went to the bush, it hides. These guys want to go as high up as possible, so we think it went up into like a roof or something that we couldn't access. Despite staying there for a little while and observing. So these are just some conflict situation that we will observe with these type of animals. So yeah, going on power lines is something very common for them, um, in order for them to try to be safe. But it is dangerous, as in the case with the porcupine. They said it got electrocuted, and then it got shot, and then that's when it fell down. Right? So it's very, very um, dangerous for them. All right. But I guess I gave the answer for one of the trivia questions, but you can still answer them on the comment section down below. Let me put that one more time and quickly repeat it. Why was the Wildlife Ambassador Program established, which Max already discussed? And what is a possible reason that animals like monkeys, kinkajous, porcupines would resort to power lines for moving around? Comment down on the comment section, and yeah, the first one to correctly answer will earn a little prize. All right.
Yeah. On that note, while lately we have had howler monkeys, sorry, and porcupines go a bit viral for this behavior. For example, in my neighborhood, kinkajous are a very, very common one at dawn and dusk that we see traversing these lines, and there's a large number of animals that will use them. So, be mindful, and if you do see areas where this seems like a hot spot, it's occurring a lot, maybe give a call to your service provider and make mention of that, because there are different infrastructure methods that they can use to kind of mitigate this risk to some extent. All right. So I guess that takes us on into our next topic, in that case, which will be our recent outreach that Mr. Gian here and myself have been involved in. It was a very busy last week, especially for us when it comes to outreach, but we were able to get out, talk to a lot of people, and spread our message of conservation, which, that's always a treat for us as well. Besides being a bit up and down all over the place. So the first event that we had attended was last week, Monday, at Belize High School up in Belize City. We had the pleasure of giving a talk and presentation to their third and fourth form science students. This was a very engaged, very interested crowd. They had great questions, and they also learned a lot about Belize's wildlife, about the causes of conflict, and some of the stuff we discussed in the Wildlife Ambassador Program. And I believe that they had a pretty good time doing a wildlife ID quiz as well. So, just as I mentioned the quiz, I will also post a link to a quiz that you can do on our website if you want to test your knowledge on Belize's wildlife ID. Our second event for last week was our Earth Day Fair in Belmopan at the building for the Ministry of Sustainable Development, Climate Change, and Solid Waste Management. It was a real treat to be a part of this one as well because it brought together so many great conservation organizations and NGOs into one place to, spread their messages. And it was great to not only interact with the visitors, but also to see, how much of an impact these organizations can have as well. So at that event, we did give presentations and had great discussions with students from four high schools there in Belmopan, namely Belmopan Comprehensive School, Belmopan Baptist High School, Our Lady of Guadalupe High School, and Belmopan Methodist High School. So thanks to everyone who came out, thanks to everyone who stopped by our booth and was interested in what the BWRC does, and also interested in learning more about the amazing wildlife that we call our neighbors here. Our next event for the week was last week Friday at Placencia Elementary School Limited, and that was at their Earth Day Fair. So it was our second Earth Day Fair for last week. We had a little bit of a warm up, and then we got to go down to Placencia to round the week off. And there we shared our knowledge of Belizean wildlife and the threats that they face with a lot of interested kids. It was a great event, and plenty of parents stopped by as well and had, interest in it. And then, yeah, it was really a treat to see the different organizations present at this event and to see the genuine interest and compassion for our wildlife here in Belize. So yeah, it was a really great thing to be a part of as well. And last but not least, we also did appear on the Galen Hour, Galen's annual talk show, which this year's topic was actually protecting our wildlife. So we featured on episode 3 of the Galen Hour, Protecting Our Wildlife. This is their 10th season airing. And it was a really great discussion between myself, Mr. Gian here, our founder and director, Dr. Isabel, as well as Miss Danae Swayze, the program coordinator for Galen's Environmental Science program, as well as our amazing host, Miss Diana Gomez Perifi. Mrs.
It was exciting to be in TV once again now. But you can always catch that. I think this entire season is about the wildlife of Belize. So every Wednesday at 8 p.m., right? I think yesterday our partners from Belize Raptor Center were on air. So you can always go check the Facebook or YouTube pages for Galen, and you can keep up with that show. It's a really nice show that they're doing, and I think they will have a couple more episodes this season.
I haven't gotten a chance to watch the Belize Raptor Center's episode yet, but I'm sure there's a wealth of knowledge there as well. I did watch the one with the Belize Zoo and Tropical Education Center. That was very informative. So yeah, if you guys want to learn a bit more about Belize's wildlife, and I assume that you do since you're watching this live, check that out. I would strongly urge it.
All right. I see some responses to the quiz are coming in. So thank you, Julissa. Thank you, Ms. Leonelli Chan, for commenting. Let's read it out real quick. Julissa says let me just scroll. To minimize animal loss with human conflicts caused. And number 2, animals move around to do a lower predatorial access so that they tend to be more arboreal animals, right? So very good answer, Julisha. Leonelli Chan says number 1, to help wildlife around the country, yes, but also to educate people, right? And number 2, because of deforestation, yes. So habitat loss plays a role in as to why they are out there, but of course, like Julissa mentioned, a lot of them are arboreal, and there's lower predatorial risk on the power line. So thank you very much for answering our quiz questions for today.
All right, and I would just like to give a brief reminder. We are nearing our zoonoses section here, our zoonotic disease
Yes.
section. So, if there's any particular disease that you guys, zoonotic disease that is, that you guys would like to know more about, please comment that soon. And otherwise, we do have something in mind to teach you guys a bit more about. It is one that we've recently seen pop up. It does seem to be getting a little bit more attention as it is a very common disease across Central America. Um, and yeah, just a brief update on our construction. As you know, we're all very excited to have our new facilities being built here at BWRC, though we are still seeking further funding. So if anybody wants to donate or, I mean, we are quite open to that as well. It is, yeah, it does take a lot to keep our day to day running, and moving forward in a way like this is an immense step for us, but it does pose its own set of challenges. That being said, we're here in our new education building right now, our new Ed Lab. It's not the first time we're using this. I think this is our second live in here. And we've also had the pleasure of hosting primary school students, hosting a snake and crop training workshop with the Crocodile Research Coalition, and also hosting meetings with organizations such as our funders for phase 3 of the Wildlife Ambassador Program, as well as with the Belize Veterinary Association. So we're already seeing some great use out of it and plenty more to come. And our clinic building is underway. We've got the foundation nearing, yeah, it's getting there. So sorry we don't have any photos to share at the moment. But very exciting news for all of us here at BWRC at the same time. All right, and I do not yet see any requests for different zoonotic diseases. So I think we might go ahead and call in Dr. Isabel, and we have a discussion for you guys today about the disease Chagas, which is transmitted via the feces of an insect here in Belize, commonly called the kissing bug or assassin bug. Forgive me, as at the moment I do not recall the name of this bug. Yeah.
No, I don't want to sit down here.
Maybe just replace this one.
And just while we get that together for you guys, brief screwworm update as of week 14 of monitoring for this year, I believe. We're at 1,002 cases across the country, and more than half of those are in canines, both domestic and stray dogs. So, again, just as always, as we keep on mentioning, keep an eye out for any wounds, any foul smells, anything that might, tip you off to an infestation, as the screwworm fly and the maggots thereof can do a whole lot of damage, and you really want to be aware of that. All right, so welcome, Dr. Ann.
Yeah, hi. Nice to be back. And today for a little spontaneous disease talk.
Maybe
Because, yeah, you want to ask some questions?
Actually,
Because
what I wanted to just comment is I was checking out the World Animal Health website, and there's this really new, cool new tool that they added, the information system, of which you can go and look up all the reports for any zoonotic disease outbreaks, right? If it's new in the area, and it keeps it up to date with these reports, right? And one of the reasons why we chose Chagas today is I was checking them. I filter it to the continent for the Americas, and I saw, well, mainly I saw in Mexico, for example, they're struggling just like us with the new world screwworm, and in Chile they were struggling with avian influenza. And then one new one that I saw in the middle there is in Ecuador, where they're struggling with Chagas disease, right? So that's why I said, oh, we should discuss about Chagas a little bit. But tell us what is the pathogen that causes Chagas disease here?
Yeah, so in a nutshell, Chagas is caused by a prozoan, single-celled little organism It's a trypanosoma. Species is Trypanosoma cruzi. That protozoan infects the vector, and the vector can transmit it to humans if it has the protozoan. So that's how we get it. As a reservoir, Chagas, means Trypanosoma cruzi, has many different animal hosts. So it is very widespread, actually. It's also classified by the World Health Organization as a neglected tropical disease. And what that means is it's not given enough attention for the importance that it actually has as a disease. I don't know if we can get anybody to write anything in the comments there and let us know if they had heard of Chagas before, because this is not just a disease in South America, it's of the entire Latin American continent, South and Central America, reaching into southern US as well, in animals as well as in humans. And here we are primarily concerned about humans because the consequences of the disease can be fatal. And I, as a veterinarian interested in One Health and tropical diseases, learned about Chagas in 1995. And it was already mentioned at that point that it wasn't given enough attention and that there were an estimated 20 million people infected. So this has not changed drastically, unfortunately. So that is a quick intro to Chagas. Question.
How would it look like, the disease in animals and if possible in humans? If you're familiar?
Yes, so great question. I'm actually less familiar with what it looks like in animals because for many diseases, when it's a reservoir, it doesn't cause much disease. It doesn't cause much pathogenicity and you won't see much of it. So it's in most species subclinical. There is disease described in dogs, but as for so many of these more complex diseases, the symptoms can be very unspecific and you need very specific tests to prove it that are often not as available. But how does it look in humans? It is, as I mentioned, a very long disease. It starts with that bite. The bite, make it a little bit gross here as a parasitologist, the bug takes a blood meal and then it defecates. And sadly, it's not the blood meal that gives it to us, but it's the feces, because the bite then itches and then the scratching rubs, unfortunately, the fecal matter into the wound, and that's how we become specifically infected. And then in the beginning, when that happens, there is a thing that's described, or the name for it is chagoma, Chagas chagoma, which is a massive tumorous swelling that may come up. The bites are often in the face because that's what sticks out. The bugs come out at night while people sleep, take that blood meal, and therefore most of the pictures that I've seen of this disease with signs in humans is a facial picture where you can see one eye is almost closed because the other side is so swollen. And so strong swelling, itch, inflammation, which for most of us, it would make us go to the doctor and get a checkup. That swelling, even if it's not treated, it will eventually go away. And this little protozoan will go not really dormant, but develop extremely slowly over the course of up to 20 years, in which time it goes into smooth muscle.
Okay.
Anybody knows where we have smooth muscle?
Brain, heart.
Yes, heart and GI tract.
Yeah.
That's the muscle we don't control. No, that runs on our autonomous systems here. And those are affected by the different stages. It has quite a complicated life cycle that we don't have to go into, but it affects that smooth muscle and it makes it get extended, dilated, widened. And it leads in humans and in animals, it can do the same to the megas, which is called mega esophagus. So the smooth muscle in the esophagus going down to the stomach gets completely widened, and the esophagus gets very big. And the other mega is megacolon, so where your colon becomes completely wide. It leads to significant struggles for the people because your food doesn't go well to the stomach as it should, but gets stuck in your esophagus, and similar on the colon end, can be extremely uncomfortable. Um, those are the conditions that are complicated, but what is fatal is that it does the same on the heart. And then the heart muscle can eventually, once it gets dilated, it will rupture. And that's when it will cause, for a person that didn't even know that had it, 20 years into the disease, they fall over dead. Because the heart muscle ruptures, you don't survive that generally. So that's what it looks like in humans,
All right. Thank you very much.
and a little bit in animals.
Frankenstein is saying that something very new for her, so it's interesting. You know, we're all learning together. That's great. Uh, Someone says yes, we have lots currently, right? Which is well,
No, the honest answer to that is we really do not know how much of it we have. We do have the vector bug. This is very common, and I've often encountered persons who get very scared of the so-called kissing bug or triatomine bugs, which there are many
Maybe
different ones.
chinch.
Chinch.
Yeah.
But the chinch needs to be infected with a protozoan. And what we need is more research to test the vector and to test reservoir animal species and to test humans as well. And I guess one form I did not mention yet is the congenital form. And that's the most, in some ways, it's very important because pregnant women that have Chagas transmit this to their baby in the uterus. And then the baby is born with a condition. And if this is detected, it can be treated in the newborn baby and they will be cured. It's a long treatment, but it can be treated. However, if it's not even looked for and tested, then they run the risk of dying in their early 20s with sudden heart failure.
Wow.
So what we need is more research into it in humans, especially pregnant women, and then the vector and animals and everything. That's why it is classified as neglected.
And I suppose that long, not dormancy period, but long kind of undetectable period might lead to a lot of people overlooking it as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's it.
It's a mean one, shows no signs, poof, dead.
All right. Well, yes, it is very scary indeed. But to finish up, how can people avoid this disease?
Excellent question. That's what we really want to know. So avoiding the bites of these bugs by using mosquito nets, by using insect repellent, and these bugs live mostly in thatch roof, mud stick wall. So that's where particularly you need to seal yourself off with a mosquito net. That's your best defense.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. Like a lot of these diseases, you know, it's better to prevent it than to treat it, right? And a lot of them don't have treatment, as we speak, right? But all right, there's Chagas disease for you. If you ever have any questions, or if you still have a question, please feel free to comment it. We still have a couple of minutes more to go. But thanks, Dr. Isabel, for that insight on this very interesting disease, right? So yeah. All right. Well, actually, maybe we can keep Dr. Isabel here because what we have next on our agenda is to just discuss a little bit of our intakes of what have come in this past month, right? We have a pale vented pigeon, right? Anybody want to share the history there for that one? You remember?
Um, for sorry, I might be confusing the two. I know that we had a
We
pale
have
vented
multiple.
pigeon and
Yes.
a white-winged dove.
Right.
I know that
There's
one
two of
of
them.
them was recovered from Set up in Cayo. Somebody, I believe it was a tour guide there doing some sort of training, who noticed this bird was unable to fly and seemingly injured on the ground. So he had brought it, and then we received the call, and we were able to receive this bird from them. It was, I believe, stabilized at the clinic and is still in our care and recovering well. And we should be able to go and release it right back up at Set there in Cayo on top of the hill.
Yes.
Um, then
Yes.
I know that lately we've received quite a number of baby opossums. It is the season,
Yes.
and I think the last count that we got was about 21.
Okay.
It
Yes.
might be
Mm-hmm.
more than that by now.
Yeah, it's definitely a busy, busy baby season by now. I can continue here, even though some of those, like the peccary, I did not even see myself other than online. But it was a very, very, very young animal that still had the umbilical cord on it. So it was basically newborn. Sadly, this patient did not stabilize, but was lively in drinking and then pretty suddenly passed. The next one that I did see was the green iguana, a VIP patient from our partners at the San Ignacio Resort Hotel, who came in suspected egg-bound, which that is a life-threatening condition in reptiles and had me extremely concerned. Thankfully, she responded very well to TLC treatment as well as medical treatment, hormonal treatment with calcium support. So she expelled 2 eggs, no more eggs in her, and she was returned to the San Ignacio Green Iguana project. Um, a newborn baby kinkajou. For all of these babies, our first attempt is always trying to reunite with their parents. Quite often, I mean, we always have to try, but it did not work in this case, neither. Um, again, came from the San Ignacio Hotel site, so we'll hopefully eventually return there. Another dove, a baby gray fox, another crocodile. Just this morning, another, uh, I think it's a white-winged dove fledgling and a baby squirrel. And that's not all. So it's been really, really, really um, busy all around with everything in-house. The best update is that Georgie, our first Newart School wildlife case, the howler monkey from Georgeville, is completely healed, or his wound is fully closed, and he is now ready for transfer. And that has been over 9 months that it took for us to completely deal with that infestation and make his wounds heal.
Quite a process, and I remember at some points it was questionable as to whether
Yeah,
amputation might have been needed, or but
yeah,
it's
many, many.
wonderful that the leg was saved and he will be able to go to the
Life and
next
leg
step.
saved.
Life and leg saved. And he'll now go through a rehabilitation process with Wild Treks
Yeah,
up
and
north in Sertaneja.
and it's likely to still take a year or 2 years for him because he has to adapt to his altered leg. It is on there, but it is not fully mobile. His foot is partially fused, but I've seen him use it and scratch himself with it. So, fingers crossed.
Okay, another recent release was, if you guys follow our social media, you might have seen the story of our surrogate mother possum. So she was a possum who was injured, I believe, by vehicle?
Dog.
Oh, by dog. My mistake, guys. And she came in a bad shape, but her young were doing okay, and they eventually were released while she remained in our care. But from then on, we got another set of baby opossums, and thankfully, she was able to operate as a surrogate mother, not only for the second set of baby opossums, but also even for a third. So while her recovery process was long and ongoing, she ensured release to the wild for so many of these babies, which I think is a wonderful story. And now she was a lot more mobile than when she came to us. She did finish most of that. Well, she finished that healing process. And she was able to be released to the wild, which I also think is a heartwarming story about her surrogate mom there.
Yeah, it was a first for me after decades in rehabilitation to see this happen for an opossum. I thought it was impossible, and it was definitely well, we tried under observation, and it was a big surprise. She was a fabulous foster opossum.
All right. What I want to just quickly highlight here is the different partners. You hear different people calling around and bringing animals. Like the Pikiri was from Belize Maya Forest Trust, the San Ignacio Resort Hotel, who always bring animals. Of course, they're iguanas as well. Another little iguana from Savannah Field Station, Miss Jen, who's also a volunteer here at the clinic. The little I think it's a dove that came in today. It was one of the teachers here at Black Manani, right? One of the primary school here. The kids found it. They told their teacher. The teacher called us and went for it, right? So it's very nice to see that the community is coming together and always calling and caring for wildlife in that way, right? And if you ever find any wildlife in trouble or wildlife giving you trouble, remember you can always call us at 615 51 59, right? So we're here to help you 24/7. So please feel free to call us. All right. All right. So that brings us to the end of our agenda here. If you have any questions, you still may have a minute or two. But we just want to end off with our gratitudes from everyone that comes in and helps here at the clinic. We have Natalie and Vivian who are interning here at the clinic. They're from Galen Vet Tech program, so they have to do a couple months. Months they have to do a certain amount of hours of clinic experience under a vet. So two of them are here learning under Dr. Isabel. Um, we also want to thank Miss Jen McKnight also from the mentioned Savannah Field Station, and happy belated birthday. I think yesterday was her birthday. Happy birthday, Miss Jen. It's great to have you with us and coming in every week to help us. Thank you to our long volunteer Craig Hire. To all our donors and sponsors, for keeping this clinic running and for helping us with the construction of the new building as well. Thank you for donating and sponsoring what we do, right? All our callers and transporters, because sometimes, yes, we do need a lot of help for transportation. An animal might be way up in Corozal and we can't go ourselves, but you guys always help us to transport our little animals to get the care they need, right? Um, Caves Branch donated this month as well. So thank you very much, Caves Branch, for that very generous donation that you gave. And sometimes the little donations go a long way. For example, something that's very critical at the clinic, our microwave got burnt out in some recent power issues that we have. And someone from Bully Tree, I don't have her name at the moment, but she said, "Hey, I have a used microwave for you guys. Come and pick it up." And we went, and it was a very nice big microwave, bigger than the one that got burnt out. So it's helping us out a lot currently. So thank you very much. And again, if you do want to donate, don't hesitate. You don't have to donate a ton of money, but if you can, you could. But I mean, simple little things like these sort of things. We even upset towels. We use a lot of towel sheets, pillow covers. All these things are things
Cleaning
that
supplies.
cleaning supplies
Really,
is
really simple.
it's really simple things that you can help out and put your little part in what we do. All right. Yeah, and facilitators lastly for the events that we have attended last week, throughout last week and the entire month. We've been busy up and down with different schools and government entities. So thank you for inviting us. And again, we're always free under the Wildlife Ambassador program. We like to go out there, teach children, high school students, and the general public a little bit of what we do and how they can avoid wildlife conflict and these sort of scenarios, and introduce them to the Wildlife Ambassador Program as well. So feel free to reach out to us if you have an event coming up. We're happy to attend as well. With that, that's it from me. Thank you very much for watching today. Had quite a number of viewers. Thank you for joining. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. See you next month.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.